Welcome to Roll for Crit's Kickstarter Pickstarters for February 26th, 2018. We got quite a couple picks for you, including one long-awaited one. So why don't we start off with that?
That game is called Edge of Darkness from AEG, and of course we've been talking about this for a long time. The anticipated follow-up to Mystic Vale, both in theme and mechanics. This is a big game that includes Mystic Vale's card crafting system from the same designer, wherein you will be upgrading cards in sleeves by actually modifying them, adding multiple cards into one sleeve to give it different abilities. Unlike Mystic Vale, though, in this game the cards are double-sided, and later on there are going to be different reasons different sides will matter to you. Essentially, this game's it's a card drafting game where it's also kind of a worker placement thing and a deck building thing, and you're going to be building and modifying your deck, but the cards that you build and enhance are also going to be going back into a pile that's being used by the other players at the table. So they might be able to use your good cards, you might be able to pay them to get the use of their cards. And then there's a giant tower, and when monsters are attacking, cubes go in there. It's basically like a dice tower kind of a thing, and that determines who may get attacked, who has to defend for that round. So there is a whole lot going on. It's a mystical fantasy theme. You're trying to defend this realm. There's also kind of a political side to it. Big game, big deal. We played it at Gen Con. That was a while ago though, so presumably some things have changed. Certainly the look of the components and that tower is much cooler now than it was when we played it. This is a $60 game, but they are doing a thing that we also talked about for that Sonic game recently, where if you want all those stretch goals, you're going to have to pay $100. It's a pretty big difference in the stretch goals, which they have hit most of them, mostly upgraded components, as well as some actually new cards in there, which that part is kind of like, the components you could live without, but I don't know how much difference. Of course, they're going to say you can just play the complete game with the base, but if they like those cards and those are a good addition, you might feel kind of left out for that if you don't pay that extra money.
Well, I mean, I think one of the reasons they can do this is because they can get away because they're AEG. I mean, when you're a bigger company, it makes sense because it's almost like, because it's AEG with a title that's been very anticipated, it's going to be one of those things like, you know it's not going to be like, oh, will they make it? You know this is just in essence a pre-order.
Yeah.
So really the add-ons are almost like it's going to be, I mean, outside the components, but it's going to almost be, this is a expansion pack that's going to go on. If they're Kickstarter exclusive, though, is always the problem. I mean, I've said this plenty of times on the channel. I'm not a big fan of that sometimes when it's game affecting mechanics, like not art, because it almost feels like sometimes when you see it, then you're like, is it worth for me to pick up then? Because
that's the thing that concerns me. I'm not sure if they said if they would be exclusive or not. But yeah, if they are, that's a bummer. Also, solo rules are another one of the stretch goals, which I also feel like unless you have to include more components in there, you could just print up the solo rules online. Like that's kind of lame to keep that behind a gated wall. I will say though, if you are spending $100 on a game, I don't know, whether or not you enjoyed the game. I think we definitely both liked it, what little we played. But I do think the depth is certainly there. The size.
No, there was so much stuff going on, and we didn't. I mean, you can watch our video and see what it looked like.
Yep.
Once again, this was from last Gen Con, so don't go there for components, especially since if you want to get the $100 for the upgraded. But I mean, there's so much more. I mean, Mystic Vale, if you've played it, it was just like a deck building. You understand how learn the card crafting system, and I guess some could say the longest tutorial ever, taking a few years. But this, you're not even just thinking that. You have to look at both sides. When you're dropping dice, or the cubes down, you're thinking, all right, 3 of my cubes have already appeared. So I think I'm safe for another round. Like, you're thinking about so many more things that I think it brings a lot more to the table than Mystic Vale did.
Certainly. Both figuratively and literally.
Yeah. And I really enjoyed the way it did it too.
Yeah.
So definitely, I mean, gotta be something to take a look at.
That is up on Kickstarter now.
There may be many timelines, but in this one, Battle Entertainment Studios is the one to bring us Infinity's Defiance of Fates. In this game, if you haven't guessed, actually deals with infinite timelines. You can play as two different groups, and you'll be playing cards by either putting them in your timeline and then playing them, or moving yourself across a little hexagon map and moving the map around, like changing the way walls work to block your opponent's line of sight, trying to attack them, trying to grow more. And what really caught me though was first the beautiful artwork. Like, it was amazing artwork. The two sides. One's like, I want to say like that Portal White Future style robot. The other one I want to say it's more like Fire Egyptian. It made me think.
Okay.
But there's two modes. There's a skirmish mode, where it's just have fun, play again, play a game. But the cool thing was there's a adventure log mode, which seems to be almost like you play games and choose your adventure, and depending what happens, like depending on how that goes with timelines, you can do some really fun stuff.
That sounds pretty cool. And you said this is a 1v1? It's a head-to-head two-player game?
It is a head-to-head. I think there might be team style, but and you do play as your own like legendary leaders, which are asymmetrical, which is definitely something I think is a good thing because it allows for you to really sink your teeth into the group and try different strategies.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Infinite Timelines has untapped potential in the board game market. We've seen it in plenty of other fictions, but not as much. Yeah, I like to be able to see what alternate universes are like.
Yeah. And with like I said, you can either be playing cards, putting in and out timelines, building your army, with manipulating the map with these little hexagon tiles. I thought it was something with the adventure log, that's the thing I really want to take a look. It's something I think that stood out to me compared to all the other Kickstarters.
Yeah, I like it. Sounds cool.
So go ahead and check it out. It's currently on Kickstarter for $49 for the base. Tell us what you think, and if you think it is a good pickup.
The Big Score is our next game from Van Ryder Games. This is the same company that has published a bunch of others that we've enjoyed, particularly Hostage Negotiator, among other titles. And in this one, you're all going to be different crime bosses trying to rob the biggest bank that ever was, basically. And there's two phases of the game. In the first phase, it's a drafting game, just card drafting. I don't know what else you would draft. I don't know why I had to clarify.
Beer?
Yeah, that's true. It could be that. And you're going to be going around trying to hire a crew to go after sort of smaller jobs to gear up for the big one. And what's cool about this is each job will require certain types of crew members. And one person alone won't really be able to do a job by themselves. Each person together has to decide secretly first where they're going in on, and then find out if they were able to complete it. And whoever was on that job gets an equal amount of the payout, even if you put in fewer cards. So you might want to try to rely on your opponents to help you out on there. So there's sort of a semi-co-op thing. Then the second phase, you all go in together, and then it becomes like a press your luck thing, where you're going to be reaching into a bag of tokens, and there could be money, or you might get a cop token. And if a cop track fills up with all the cop tokens, then anyone who's still in the bank gets caught and they don't get any money. But if you choose to leave at the end of that turn, then whoever has the most money wins. There's also some interesting hidden things where you have to decide if you're going to be using a special token or not, and everyone holds their hands out at the same time and reveals. So there's a lot of kind of bluffing you can do and trying to get people to think you're going to use your thing, but don't, because you want to save it for later and rely on them to do it. It sounds like a cool heist-themed thing. Definitely competitive, but it's cheap. It's only $34, and for $39, you get like a little expansion with it, which at $5, it ain't nothing. And I really like this company, so I'm looking forward to trying it out.
Yeah, I haven't played Hostage Negotiator, but I know you've loved playing it. I do love the fact that the second half is what you say to press your luck, is how far you can go in to get more things.
Yeah.
When the second half, or the first half, I mean, is press your luck, but I'm not in the same. It's press your luck in how little can you get away with.
Yeah. So what do you think? Yeah, you want to put in as little effort as you can and just profit off the work of your friends.
Yep.
Really great. So that's the Big Score.
In Kami-sama from Colossal Games, you will each be playing as a kami, trying to become the kami-sama, or I guess most popular kami spirit, in an ancient Japan villages, 4 to be exact. The board, which will be set up, with each village in front of a player, so where you're sitting matters, will be the village you can start off in the first season, the first year, which will go through 4 seasons, very similar to Seasons, same style that you rotate 3 times around.
I thought you just meant like
No,
Seasons.
I mean the board game.
The board game Seasons.
Yes.
Got it.
And in it, you'll be putting down shrines to pretty much like almost area control, kind of to gain more either in nature points or in honor points, kind of stuff like that. But the cool thing is, once a year goes down, like if we were playing, we're sitting across from each other right now, the board, which will have little inlets for you to put your little shrines, rotates. So whoever's sitting over here will now have my board and can mess around with my shrines. You'll be messing around with this player's shrines.
Oh.
So it's this whole idea of like you're looking and you can't plan too far because like, oh, if I put there, you're gonna mess me up like a year later or something like that. So, and you of course also try to compete to get special villagers. You want the good ones, not just the regular peasants and stuff. So it's this whole fun idea of like back and forth and trying to not think too far ahead because you're like, oh, you'll just ruin all my shrines as soon as it hits to you. Yeah. And as you go ahead, you'll get more actions, and you actually choose a specific spirit, which is asymmetrical. So you could be like, oh, I'm the force spirit, so maybe I can do this more, so I'll be able to get away with this. You can't. So there's this whole fun idea of all this crazy stuff that can happen, and with the board rotating is, I think, hilarious.
That sounds good. Yeah, I like it.
And we love things whenever there's like little inlets for pieces that you can actually just nicely fit in.
Yeah, that feels good. No, anything. I mean, that sounds like a really interesting mechanic that it actually matters where you're sitting and at different times. That's kind of neat. I'm excited to ruin the next person's turn by placing things badly.
Yeah. It is already funded. You can get it for $42 the base, but there are 2 expansions already to add on. One I believe is called Awakening, and I forget what the other one's called, but it gives you little radish spirit tokens, which look hilarious. So it's if you missed the old radish guy you collected and you collected little seeds for in Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, you can get a guy that looks like him.
Yeah. Deadwood 1876 is the newest title from Facade Games. This is the 3rd in their series of deduction games that come in neat little books with magnetic covers. And this one takes place in the Wild West. You will be a bunch of people trying to get gold. It is going to be sort of semi-cooperative, but really there's one winner. It's a competitive game, but you're going to have to work together a little bit. You're going to be kind of teaming up, or not, depending on how it works, with other players to collect gold in the first part of the game, but eventually there's a final showdown where if you are part of a team, everyone is going to reveal cards from their hands. You have different types of guns, and whoever has the best gun is going to kill the other players and take all the gold for themselves. But you might not want to necessarily save your best gun because every card also has an item attached to it. So during the normal play of the game, you could use items to take things from other players or look at other players' safes, which are hidden, which tell you what types of gold that they have. Or you could help out teammates and try to help them on their turns because ultimately you have to decide if you're going to spend more time building up backstabbing or trying to help your temporary partners to get more gold overall. It's very important because only one team actually gets to finish. So if your team doesn't have as much gold as the other team, you don't even get to take part in the showdown. So sort of like a Cutthroat Caverns thing, even though there's one winner, you gotta help a little bit. You could try to go it alone. I don't know how successful you'll be.
You're really going for the work together so I can stab you robbing style this Kickstarter.
It seemed the perfect theme for some reason. It came in vogue, I guess.
Now we should say you've already gotten 2 of their games before.
Yeah. Salem and Tortuga, which we played and I liked a lot. Really, really fun, different kind of takes on the. I mean, Salem was very much like more like a mafia werewolf style thing. Tortuga was pretty different, and this sounds also pretty different.
Both of those they really like to some kind of hidden element.
I think that's the theme, yeah.
And what's also fun is that the sets are all designed really to look together on like a bookshelf, which is also something really cool.
It's nice.
Definitely worth checking out. Yeah, I don't know, but I'm guessing you might be able to pick up their other games too through this?
I don't know offhand, but it's probably likely. Just this game goes for $23, which it hardly ain't nothing, as they might have said in the Wild West. Why, that's nothing more than a couple of shillings. That's British. I don't know.
Funny accents or not, that is our last Kickstarter for the week of February 26, 2018. Join us next week on Roll for Crit Kickstarter Pickstarters. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave some comments down below.
Yeah.